rise and shout. It's time for What's Trending.
Another touchdown for Keanu Hill. The Cougs hold. And touchdown. Complete to Epps. Dean 10, 5, touchdown.
What's Trending is presented by Bodyguards, protection for a life worth living. Learn more at bodyguards.com. Okay, Cam Miller of College Football Network, homie of the program, projects BYU to go 7-5, finish tied for 6th in the Big 12. 6th, you say. Would you take both of those results, or would you rather play it out and see what happens?
We've already talked many times about how a 7-5 would be a great season. So naturally, you're tempted to take that guarantee. However, we live for the game. So I'm going to take door number 2, which is let it play out. Maybe they'll do worse than 7-5. Maybe they'll do better. But it's the week in and week out drama that holds us dear to college football. However, I'm very interested in how Cam came to a 7-5 record.
Yes, let's break that down. So he has BYU winning a close one over Sam Houston, 31-25. I don't think we'd like that result out of the gates. Southern Utah, 35-11. Obviously, we'd like a win, but not by that margin. BYU loses at Arkansas. He has that a 13-point game. Loses at Kansas. Beats Cincinnati in a close one. Close win at TCU.
Surprise
like
there.
That one.
Surprise
That's
there.
a surprise. Beats Texas Tech at home. Loses to Texas by 14. Then a close win at West Virginia. And then losses at home to Iowa State. That would be a disappointing loss. Loss at home to Oklahoma. And then a regular season finale win against Oklahoma State. So the 6th win would come at the beginning of November. And so BYU would know it's bowl eligible at that point in this projection.
As I look at his picks, there's some surprises in there. One, he doesn't like TCU at all. We'll show you where he picks them in the standings here in a moment. And they were in the championship game last year. They can't be that bad, right?
Could they possibly
but
fall?
He thinks
could they fall as far as they went up?
He thinks they're tanking. None of his picks are blowouts, right?
Yeah, is there a single one beyond
as far as the losses
17?
go, they're all right there,
Yep.
Which I think we'd all be happy to see. If BYU's not going to run the table, but if they're competitive in every game and then grab their share of them, I think we're going, hey, because year 2's coming, right? They're in the Big 12, the second year too, and the third, and it's all about marching in and building. So I 7-5, I would gladly put my arms around it, but I still have to see it because it's the game we love.
We like the means. We like
It's
seeing the
drama. It's when the teams come out. You really don't know what's going to happen. If we already knew,
yes,
then we'd just move on to basketball season.
Maybe a better comp would be, would you take BYU going 7-5 and you don't know which games are wins? You get to watch the season, but you know there are 7 in there versus.
Yeah, that would be pretty good.
What would you take in that situation? If you knew there was BYU will win 7 regular season games, you just don't know which one.
I would take that if I knew they'd win 7 with a chance for 8
in a bowl game,
or whatever. Because then you know, hey, after we got the next 2,
yeah,
we know what's coming. We're gonna take 3 of the next 5.
And
sign me up.
Once you get that 7th, you're like, oh man. But it's interesting to see this. He has a lot of scoregami in there. Scoregami is like a unique score that doesn't happen. So he's got some weird kind of 29s and 23s and whatnot.
22s.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. 2-point conversions work and don't. I don't know. But in the Big 12 standings, he's got BYU at 5-4 and in 6th. I would take a winning record in league right now. To me, that is the thing. Obviously, we're looking at bowl eligibility first. But can BYU get on the high side of those 9 games in league, 5-4? 4-5 certainly is something BYU that would be good, but it's relatively good. I think in the future, in a couple years, which we'll get to in a second, we won't be as accepting as, say, a 3-6 in league or a 4-5. A winning record every year in league is going to get you into a bowl game because BYU is going to play an FCS team, hopefully a winnable FBS, and then there'll be one P5 that will be challenging. And hopefully every other year that's at home. So there'll be some years where BYU goes 3-0 in non-conference, and now you're like, okay, can we go 6-3 in league and get to 9 wins and be interesting, right? So it's interesting.
I look at Texas.
Everybody's low-balling BYU, including us, in terms of like sub-8 wins. To me, 8+ is a good season. But the first season in the Big 12, sort of graded on a curve, not sure what BYU has exactly, not sure how hard this experience is going to be.
I don't know what TCU did to Cam. I don't know if they denied him a press box seat with dinner, but he's got them at number 9, going 3-6 in the Big 12, from the national championship to 3-6. And he's got Texas. Everyone's in love with Texas. He's got Texas at 9-0. Texas
It's a classic preseason.
Has Texas
tale.
ever been 9-0 in our lifetime? It doesn't seem like it. If they have,
With Colt
you got to go
McCoy
way back.
against in
Maybe
the
the
national
year they
title
beat
game.
USC in the national championship.
that year. They've had some good years. But in the last, like, 10 or
man,
12,
9-0?
it's not been the same kind of... As good as Texas is in the #1 revenue school and the amazing recruiting classes they get, they underachieve from that standpoint every year. Like, we think we have high expectations generally for BYU. It's not even close to what Texas does. We're just hoping BYU goes to a bowl game.
Well, you look at Cam. He's got Oklahoma State and West Virginia, 13th and 14th, 1-8, 1-8. These are two of the pioneers in the league, right? And all these newcomers come in and just finish better than them.
Yeah,
It's like
I guess West Virginia's a newcomer.
I guess kind of. But if you're Oklahoma State, do you not have any pride? I'd expect them to be a contender.
They lost a lot of pieces, including Caleb Etienne, starting left tackle. Spencer Saunders went to Ole Miss, where he's going to compete with Jackson Dart for the starting spot there. They lost something. Can BYU be the best newbie in the league, by the way? He has UCF at 7-5, 5-4, and then Cincinnati and Houston going 4-8 and 2-7 in the league, respectively. If BYU is the best of those four, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of people think UCF's going to be pretty good. And in the top kind of half of the league. Can BYU overcome sort of just low expectations? Now, listen, we could have high expectations. We did that last year, and BYU underperformed. We expected a lot out of that group. BYU's just way better as a dog. They just are. Like, I love this. In fact, if we just lowered it a touch, I think it'd crank the team up a notch.
Yeah.
Like, BYU functions better when they think no one thinks we can do this.
And
so no one thinks BYU can do it. So go do it. Like, BYU operates better that way.
These are projections based on complete health, and that's really the hump BYU's got to get over for a full season of competitive football in a P5 atmosphere. They just haven't been able to. But they've spent this whole offseason, putting dishes in the cupboards, loading things up.
Yes.
To answer that question. And proof's in the performance, right? Expectations are awesome because we talk about it all the time. But it's like they're in a position to be better than they've ever been, depth-wise, against a competition bigger and better than they've ever had, consistency-wise. And that's the drama of the game.
Maybe it's less about being healthy and more about when inevitably we are injured, can we maintain the standard?
Yeah,
I think
the
that's
other teams
what
are going to get hurt too.
I think we used to say, well, BYU's got to avoid injury. How avoidable is it? Like, does BYU do something different in the weight room now? They do fewer squats, so they're not going to be as pulling hamstrings and ACLs suddenly. Like, it's football. You're going to get hurt to some degree. I don't know how controllable that is, but it is big boy football now. You're going to get a little more hurt, a little more physical. So more depth is great, which I think BYU has.
More guys, and the fittest are the ones standing at the end, right? USC, had their quarterback not getting hurt, they wouldn't have got beat by Utah. There's just some things where health makes such a big difference, and it has for BYU.
Good little jab there at the end. That's great.
I golfed with a Trojan fan the other day. It was still in my mind. All right, how many years before you expect BYU to finish in the top 4 in the Big 12?
Okay, this is a good question because to me, top 4 is like, okay, you're one of the best teams in the league, obviously. Okay, I've looked at 2 teams to sort of gauge what it took for them to sort of compare here. Let's talk about Utah and TCU. Utah went 8-5 in year 1 of the Pac-12. Wow! Year 2 and 3 went 5-7.
Yeah.
Okay, it's struggle. Year 4, they go 9-4, 5-4 in league, tied for 6th. And I'm just going by divisions, right? They don't have the full no division thing that now the Big 12 has. Okay, in the 5th year, 10-3, 6-3 in league, tied for 4th. It took 5 years. TCU, 3rd year, took 2nd in the league at 8-1. 12-1, went to the Peach Bowl. 4th year, 11-2, took 2nd, 7-2. TCU was more ready. They went a year after Utah, by the way, 2012. Remember, BYU plays TCU last year in the Mountain West, first year of Indy, in Jerry's World. BYU loses a game there by 10.
That was the game where Riley Nelson gave the referee a high five.
I was the KSL radio reporter right by that high five, and I go to flip on this switch, and it takes like 3 seconds to go hot, and I start to say what I think is this amazing scene I just witnessed, and Mark Lyons jumps in and says it, and I was like, Mark is on it, and I was too slow. But, okay, Utah took 5 years, TCU took 3. I'm going to say 5. In 5 years, I'm hoping that BYU can compete in the top 4 of the Big 12. It's going to take a sec. And maybe, no, I believe it is. BYU is more ready than they were for this jump.
Right.
But I do believe that the talent at TCU is generally better than BYU's. I think BYU's coaching and development is better than a lot of schools in the country. So, but I will give it 5 years before it's like, okay, top 4. I would like it to be 3.
I'm going to go less than 5 based on what you said about how they've been prepared. I mean, 12 years to get ready for this, as opposed to Utah and TCU got the call and then they were in, or so it feels. Did BYU's scheduling, especially these last 4 years, prepare them for this so they don't go in at the bottom looking up, they go into the middle looking up? And if you're in the middle, you just got to jump 2 teams and you're in the 4.
Agreed.
So I think less than 5 because of independence.
So like 3-ish?
Yeah,
3 or
maybe
4?
3 or 4.
Yeah.
Not this year, not next year, but then again they might. Or they could have a reality check and go, okay, you know, it's taken Kansas forever just to become competitive. And we're going to talk with their play-by-play announcer in a bit to find out how they're seeing things, because now they're optimistic because they're moving the football. If you have a good quarterback, should you always be in the top 4 if you have one of the best quarterbacks in that league?
Depends what else you have, but certainly Kansas is way more interesting with Jalen Daniels, who's a baller.
Sure. And the quarterbacks, Oklahoma State, when they've got a quarterback, when Oklahoma has a quarterback, they're in that group.
They always have a quarterback.
You know?
Always.
When Texas has a quarterback, and they don't always have a quarterback, they're in that group. And this year they have a quarterback, and they're in the discussion to go 9-0, you know, according to some. But I think you're right. There has to be time to build. But BYU has done a lot of the building. And I'd be disappointed if they didn't go in the middle because of the last 12 years.
Is the only reason we're not thinking BYU can be top 4 this year just because it's new quarterback, new running back, new left tackle kind of with Kingsley? Like, why aren't we saying, hey, out of the gates, they should go there? We just don't know what the Big 12 is. I think that's why. We're just, okay, when you play 10 Power 5s, what's that like? Historically, BYU wins 40% of those. Like, 4 and 6 would be good enough to make a bowl, but it wouldn't be good enough to be in the top half. So I also think we're keeping it low because last year we got burned with expecting something high and it didn't happen.
Ran into a buzzsaw at Oregon, and then all of a sudden it took us, most of the season to recover from that.
Yeah.
I mean, they jumped up to what? Number 13 in the country?
12 at Oregon.
Heading to Oregon. And that's when everyone starts thinking, and we did too, it's like, well, if they beat Oregon, and Oregon got destroyed by Georgia, so why couldn't they beat Oregon? Then all of a sudden, well, we're going to run the table. That's how our mind works. And then Oregon just pounded us. And so then it was like, okay, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
Now let's get ready for, well, we got Notre Dame coming up or whatever. And physically, we weren't quite there. We never had a healthy team the whole season. Not even from the first moment. Gunnar wasn't in the first moment. And Puka was out after, 3 possessions? And
Jaron gets hurt.
We just never had it. And now we're heading into a tougher schedule. So I think that's why there's the hesitancy of, what are we going to look like in October and November? Because we've been there and done that, but not like this.
2 or 3 seasons in, we'll have a way better – and even after this year, it's a 14-team league. Yeah. Next year, it'll be like, okay, no Texas, Oklahoma. What does that mean? Are we – if BYU goes 5-4 in league, do we go, oh, yeah, top 4, let's go? Probably.
Yeah.
We don't like to quell expectations around here, which brings us to our question of the day.
We like to build on them.
It's part of our theology. We think anything is possible, right?